It's a regular Monday morning at Lagos Murtala Mohammed International Airport. You are all set for a 45-minute hop on a business flight to Abuja for some business dealings. No fuss and no issues whatsoever, or so you thought. Your flight takes off as scheduled, but just when your plane was going to begin its descent into Abuja, a surprise announcement from the cockpit will change the lives of everyone on board and the history of Nigeria forever. Ladies and gentlemen, this plane has been taken over by mad men. Remain calm, we will not harm you. You will be told where the plane will land. And at that moment, you're probably thinking, who on earth are these mad men and why are they taking over a plane? 4 teenagers, Richard, Kabiru, Bennett, and Kenny had just succeeded in hijacking a plane carrying 137 passengers, one of whom is the Vice President of China, amongst other powerful government officials. But why would a group of teenagers who call themselves the Mad Men take over a government plane? And how on earth did they conceive this idea? And most importantly, how did they successfully hijack a plane and reroute it out of Nigeria? June 1993. A date that is still momentous in Nigerian history. General Ibrahim Babangida, Nigeria's then dictator military head of state, who came on the scene 10 years prior due to a coup, surprisingly decides to hand over to a civilian government. 2 major candidates emerged, but in the end, business mogul Chief MKO Abiola of the Social Democratic Party emerged the winner in what is considered Nigeria's freest and fairest election till date. There was celebration on the streets. Men, women, and children were in euphoria. But this celebration was short-lived.
It is true that the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However,
to the utter shock of the world, General Babangida annulled the election in a live broadcast.
There was, in fact, a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation.
Mass outrage among civil society groups, one of them being Movement for the Advancement of Democracy, led by a man known as Jerry Yusuf, who was the mastermind behind this hijack. For Jerry, the plan was simple: hijack a plane and reroute it to Germany. But first things first, they had to get a crew. Now, according to Richard, he met Jerry at the Kingsland Hotel in Surulere, Lagos, Nigeria. Richard's father happened to be the manager of the hotel, and he came to visit his dad before he departed to Canada to continue his studies. This was where he was convinced to join the Mad Men and become the last member of their growing team. Jerry Yusuf at this time was already a wanted man who came to the hotel to hide. They were going to attack government-owned properties. The plan was hatched. If you watch it this far, hit the like and subscribe button. I can't wait to hit 1,000 subscribers. On a fateful Monday morning, they booked a flight and passed the unsuspecting security checks with 6 liters of petrol, lighters, jackknives, canister of tear gas, and of course, toy guns. And this is where it gets even more interesting. They struck. They proceeded to sit like the gentlemen that they were, and 16 minutes before this plane landed, Kabiru stood up and made for the cockpit. The co-pilot saw him and asked what he wanted, and he claimed to be a student who wanted to just see what the cockpit looked like. And just as the co-pilot opened the cockpit to show him what the cockpit looks like, he pulls out a gun and terrified the pilot. Another member of the crew doused himself and the entire airplane with petrol, threatening to burn the plane down, while another searched the passengers for anything they could find, and surprisingly they found 2 real pistols. This wouldn't be far-fetched, as the plane was carrying the Vice President of China himself. Now everything was going according to plan. This was a real win, seeing that they only had toy guns. Now back in the cockpit, the pilot was told to reroute this plane to Frankfurt, Germany. And this was when their plan began to actually fall apart. Because the plane did not have enough fuel for such a long flight. Headed towards the Sahara, the big question was, where do they land? They tried Gabon, but the Gabonese, wanting no part in it, declined. And then Ghana, who refused because according to them, Nigerian Airways owed them some landing fees. But luckily or unluckily for them, the francophone country Niger allowed them to land for refueling, which was the beginning of the end. Now, by this time, the hijack was approaching 72 hours, and local and international media were agog with the sensational event. And something they did right was in their communication with the press, they made it clear that they were fighting for truth and democracy. Passengers became jet-lagged, hungry, and sick. And after a series of negotiations with the Nigerian and Nigerian authorities, they pleaded that the 137 civilians and the vice president of China be released, while the other Nigerian officials remained as hostages on board. The madmen agreed. And also they allowed medical attention and food to come in for the remaining hostages. By allowing medical attention and food to come in, the authorities were able to figure that these men had been able to hijack a plane without any serious ammunition except for a toy gun. And soon after, they stormed the plane, bombarding the plane with bullets, which led to the death of one crew member, a few of the passengers, and the capture of the 4 mad men, or would I say teenagers. It was a fatal mistake. They were sent to prison in Niger Republic for the next 9 years. And during this time, Jerry Yusuf himself was eventually tracked down and arrested. And the very democracy they fought for was toppled in a military coup a few months later. Chief MKO Abiola was arrested and charged with treason, where he dies in incarceration. Our 4 young hijackers, now no longer young, were eventually released in 2003 and allowed to return to Nigeria. A country which still struggles with the exact same things they fought to correct 10 years ago, even if civilian rule had been restored. And even if their sacrifice seemed extreme, was eventually futile, and in hindsight seems absolutely senseless. One question that lingers in my heart is, are Nigerians still willing to make these sort of sacrifices? Have Nigerians been beaten to submission? Or even is anything still worth fighting for?